Entering the storm this week, I'll be interviewing a man that believes through the relentless pursuit of excellence, you can make people better. My guest is a CrossFit Level 1 trainer, USA Olympic weightlifting coach, certified personal trainer, certified nutritional coach, and is the owner of Strongside Gym, where we make people better. Mitchel Black, you have entered the storm. How you doing today, sir?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome to have people like yourself that are very positive and very uplifting and are wanting to help people and change their lives. But it wasn't always like this. I mean, as a child, you were growing up, you had some adversity that you faced head on. Why don't you explain what went down at a young age for you?
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, I was the sum of being given zero opportunity to succeed in life. I wasn't set up for success. I come from a very small town. I come from growing up with nothing, no money. We lived on food stamps, a single mom with 3 kids. My dad walked out. I don't have any rich family members. Nobody went to college. I felt like everything was against me, but it almost drives me to be better, to just give the world the middle finger and say, it's your life and you're not victim to your circumstances. You can do what you want to do.
You're doing what you want to do. It speaks for itself right at the moment. But yeah, you had some adversity outside of struggling through poverty, living off food stamps. There was a physical aspect of your persona that you really weren't too happy about. Why don't you go into detail with that?
Yeah, I weigh less now than when I was 13. So at 13, I was 5'5" and about 200 pounds. Wow. And I was just fed up with everything. I'm 13 years old. I can't even fit in any of my clothes. And, girls don't like me and I can't run as fast as anybody in gym class. I'm constantly finding myself saying that I can't do anything. And it was like just suffocating.
It was suffocating you, and you had an addiction of overeating. I've interviewed people in the past. Stephanie Sirocco comes to mind. She struggled with overeating and eating to, ease her mind. Is this what you did? You just turned to food, and it was like an escape for you?
100%. Food never pointed the finger at me. Food never made me feel bad. Food only satisfied me. It never put me down. It was the good that I wanted to feel that I wasn't getting anywhere else in life for various reasons. And, I remember in 3rd grade writing this girl like a secret admirer note, and she found out it was me and ripped it up and threw it in the trash.
Oh, man.
I went home and ate all these donuts because it made me feel good. And I always looked at that as an outlet. And it wasn't till I was in, probably 3rd grade, and I came home from school 3 days in a row crying because the same dude was making fun of me every single day. And my mom is a wonderful person. She didn't say this exactly, but she basically just looked at me and said, okay, are you going to come home crying every day, or are we going to do something about it? And that's when I was like, okay, we need to start doing something about it.
So that was the turning point for you, when your mom just said straight out, hey, this is the deal, and if you don't change anything, it's going to continue to happen. So what was the game plan? How did you put a game plan together to attack being overweight and trying to cut that weight?
I knew nothing. So I had no idea other than I was really overweight, hating everything, and I just wanted to be thin, and I didn't even know if that was a possibility. So when my mom brought up the topic of, hey, are we going to do something about it or whatever, she had done Weight Watchers as a kid because my whole family, nobody exercises, everybody's overweight. We're not a marathon running family. So she suggested Weight Watchers, and I was like, okay, if that's what we got to do. And I show up, I'm 13 years old, I'm the only guy in the class, and I just start counting my points. And for me, it worked. Exercise didn't come till later, but it was a starting point to get me to understand food isn't what you need to look at.
Yeah, well, food is not what you need to look at and overeat. You got to eat the right foods, and educating yourself on the right foods. I guess Weight Watchers guided you in that direction.
Yeah, and it made me realize the reward. It made me want to work hard to go to my weekly weigh-in and see the positive effect of losing weight. So anything else that was negatively driving me down in my life started to go away because I was like, I don't even have time to worry about that. I need to worry about my success and where I'm going.
With a lot of addictions, there comes sponsors and people that will help one another out, especially if they're struggling. They're about to order another pizza or get another donut or have another beer. They have sponsors. Did you have anything like that where you could turn to somebody if you felt that your will was fading?
Just my mom. And the reason for that is because at that time for me, I was so young, I was embarrassed. I didn't want people knowing that I was on a diet. So I didn't have any of my buddies, everybody noticing that I was losing weight. In 7th grade, I changed schools. In 8th grade, I came back to school, and nobody recognized me because I lost so much weight. But my mom was the person that I could go to and say, hey, I'm struggling today. And she'd be like, okay, well, let's get your mind off of it. Let's go to the mall.
Right. That's great. And, transitions, they don't happen overnight. And so you go back to school, you've lost all the weight, and now you decide, hey, I need to put on some muscle. Who guided you in the right direction as far as that's concerned?
It had to do with a sport. So I grew up my whole life racing motocross, and I wasn't a very big team sports guy. I really like individual sports. It's kind of changed now in my adult life, but as a kid, I liked individual sports. And I started wanting to race motocross professionally, and that became like my goal and everything that I wanted to do. And no motocross racer was thin. It's actually no motocross racer was overweight.
Right.
It's a very cardiovascular sport. So the better I got at it, I wanted to be fit. And I knew that I needed muscle. I knew I needed to work out. I knew I needed stamina. So it started with there. And I just grabbed some buddies that wanted to get fit too. And we started working out in my garage. And I had a little weight set. And my buddy Eli came over, and we would just lift all the time, and we'd race on the weekends.
Hey, Mitchell, I think that's like some of the best stuff as far as like when you first start working out. Because I remember when I first started working out, I had a barbell and a couple of dumbbells, and I was going down in my basement, or like you said, in the garage, or maybe like they like to call it back in the day, like Bret the Hitman Hart. He worked out in the dungeon, Yeah. So I always loved that atmosphere, like a dungeon, kind of a gym, smelly. It's got the rust on the bars a little bit, but that's what it feels like. And that's where you develop your roots as far as your exercise program and what you're going to want to do and what you want to look like. So that's a great step in the right direction. And now, how did it progress from there?
So emotionally, I started realizing that I was feeling better, that I was looking better, and that basically any time in my life that I was hindered with the word can't, that started to go away. So if I started saying, I can't run up this hill, I can't do this, and I'd started going on mountain bike rides. It's harder to sit down on a hill than stand up on a mountain bike. And I would challenge myself to go up the hill and sit down and set mind games with myself to start achieving things. And it started making me look at everything and just say,
as a challenge.
I can do anything.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they're stagnant or they're not happy or depressed because they don't challenge themselves. They have a job which they probably know how to do left and right. They could do it blindfolded. They come home and they spend some time with the family maybe and watch TV. But there's no challenges involved. And I feel like I've been challenging myself a lot in the last 6 months. And it's really reaped the rewards. I mean, you still have adversity in life, but if you're accomplishing those goals and challenging yourself like you are, there's nothing that you can't conquer.
And not only that, but I use the term winning. And very, very rarely
Charlie
in your
Sheen.
life. Yeah, but very rarely in your life can you definitively show with self-actualization that you're a winner. And what I mean by that is like if you go to work and you feel like you worked really hard and you want to get a promotion and you don't get the promotion, then you can look back and you can say, oh, my boss was bad or the circumstances weren't what I wanted, or I feel like I put in the work. Versus when you sit there and you say, look, here's a barbell. Can you lift it or not? Here's a distance. You have to accomplish it in this amount of time. Here's a workout and you need to do it at this skill level. Here's a rower. Accomplish this distance, this amount of time. And you start doing that and you start achieving things that you never thought even remotely possible, it makes you a winner. And you start looking at everything else like it's nothing.
And you turn that negative attitude into a positive one. You end up brushing off on other people. Some people might think you're annoying and go, oh, well, you're just too positive all the time. Life isn't that way. But you know what? Even through adversity, you got to stay positive because down the road, it might not be today or tomorrow. You don't know when it's coming, but it will be there if you have the right attitude. Now, you like to learn. You grew up, you were looking for a place to go as far as educational purposes, and you chose the Personal Training Institute. Now, is this based in Georgia? I mean, how do you go about applying for this institute?
So in case anybody out there is wondering, you can graduate high school with a 1.75 GPA. So that was my high school GPA when I graduated. And I had no direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew is I wanted to race motocross professionally. Yeah. But I got very injured and had to quit racing.
Which a lot of motocross athletes do. And I think a lot of people out there, they don't realize how strong you have to be and how much, like you said, stamina you need to perform in motocross sports. I mean, it's ridiculous. If you're on that bike, you got to grip it like you have the grip of Fury, right?
It's pretty ridiculous. And when all that happened, I knew that I wanted to do something different, and I knew I wanted to impact people.
Yeah.
And that's all I knew. And I left my home with $20 in cash.
Yeah.
And it took me $10 to get to my aunt's house. And I stayed with her and I figured things out. The National Personal Training Institute is amazing. And they have satellite campuses. And, it's just like a regular school. You can sign up for the accelerator program that I went through, or you can go get like your MBA or whatever and just do Saturday classes. You have that option too.
Right.
And I signed up, I dove in, I fell in love, I graduated third in my class, and I was like, this is everything I want to do and every way that I want to help people. And ever since then, it's been reading everything, learning everything, listening to everybody as much as I can to learn to help people.
Right. Out of all the certifications that you currently have, you got an impressive list. Which one is your favorite?
My favorite for sure is the CrossFit. And the reason for that is because I feel like it gives you applicable knowledge. So with all the other certifications, yeah, I have some that are like, oh, they're the best certs to get. You basically order a book, you read a book, take a test, you go to a certified testing center, you take it, you pass it. I guess you're good to train people now. And
okay.
Even though throughout the system they view it as great, you didn't really learn anything. I wish I could go find my first 5 clients and apologize because I didn't know what I was doing.
And Mitchell, too, don't you think they should have some kind of practical exam? It's like you got a written exam and maybe you get something where you're hands-on with a client. They give you a situation. You got to kind of figure it out. I mean, they don't give you anything like that?
No, and that's one of the frustrating things in the industry. That's up to the employer. So if you hire a trainer and you would like for them to go through a practical interview or a practical exam, you can do that.
Okay.
But all you have to do is read the book and take the test. Where CrossFit brings you in for a weekend. They put you in small groups. They teach you all these coaching cues in the small groups. They let you make the decisions, and they spend a lot of time coaching you on how to be a better coach. And yeah, at the end of it, people are always like, oh, well, so-and-so was a bad coach. You're going to have bad people in every industry.
Right.
But the philosophy they teach and the way they do it, it might not be the best, but it is my favorite and the way the training industry needs to go for sure.
Now, you talk about CrossFit, and there's a lot of diehard CrossFitters out there, and I have mad respect for them. But there's also a lot of haters. Why are there so many haters when it comes to CrossFit? I mean, they even call it something else, and I know you probably have heard it 100 times. But why is there such a negative label when it comes to CrossFit, and how is CrossFit working around that to gain more followers and change people's minds?
So the training industry as a whole is massively broken. If my legacy can be left as the dude who came in to fix the industry, that's what I want to do. But it's massively broken across the board. I mean, it's read a book, take a test, go train a bunch of people, hope nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
And
what if somebody does, though? What if you have somebody on a treadmill and you got them going for 20 minutes and they maybe need to go 10 because they have heart issues and they have a heart attack? What happens then?
I mean, for example, in the state of Georgia, all you have to do is pay $99 a year for $1 million of liability insurance. You don't even have to get certified. You can just call yourself a trainer. So there's no nationally governing body for training. So the fault where CrossFit gets a lot of bad rap is that you can go take a weekend completion course. It's a completion course, not a nationally accredited certification. And you learn their methodology in a weekend. And then you can go open a gym. You can have an excited person get a bank loan. They open a gym. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But you could say that with mechanics or with somebody who gets their C7 exam or, whatever. Like the integrity is what gets them to the next level. So the reason CrossFit does well is because 99% of the coaches do it because they love it. And they do it because they really want to help people and make them better.
I think that's the main reason, right? I mean, because, you want to help people. You want to help them overcome their obstacles that are placed in front of them and make them prove their quality of life.
Yeah. It also does really well because what I said a second ago about the self-actualization stuff, CrossFit does a very good job. They are the only certification that defines their training. And they tell you if you got fitter or not. So it tells the athlete if they achieve their goal or what their progression needs to be versus everything else is kind of loose-ended. Like I got on a treadmill and I walked for 10 minutes. Am I fitter? I don't really know. I didn't measure it. What is fitness? Well, I don't know. You have to be able to measure that stuff.
Right. And then, people complain about, with CrossFit, there's a lot of injuries. But I feel like that's with anything related to exercise that you do. I mean, even golfers get hurt, bowlers get hurt, and the list goes on and on. But when you have a lot of high impact maneuvers that you're executing, you might be subjected to injury, but you have to stretch. Isn't stretching has to be one of the biggest, most important things surrounding your gym and what you believe in?
Yeah, anytime that you ask yourself to get better, the chance of injury goes up in anything that you do. Really what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I want to get better than yesterday. And by doing that, my chance of injury goes up. But I would also invite you next time you go to the doctor's office or an orthopedic surgeon's office, look at all the plaques on the wall and how many football, baseball teams there are. They're not sponsoring CrossFit gyms, and they're not sponsoring your little league football team or baseball team because they feel deeply passionate about it. They want the surgeries that are going to happen in that sport.
Bring them on.
But yeah, going back to mobility, if you want to lift a good amount of load, if you want to move really well, if you want to be a functional human and have a full range of motion, all your joints, so you can be 70 with the body of a 50-year-old and be 50 with the body of a 30-year-old, you need to be limber. And a lot of people neglect that. They just want to do really hard work and not take care of themselves.
Right.
And the recovery and the stretching is what gets you your goal.
Well, I think too, Mitchell, when you get older, you still think you're like 20 years old in your mind sometimes. And you don't realize those ligaments, and they're like rubber bands, and they get worn out and they get harder as you get older. And you got to stretch those muscles. I mean, you got to stretch everything out. I feel stiff so many days out of the week, but I got to remind myself, constantly stretch. And you reminding yourself and learning things is great. What did you learn working for the Globo gyms?
So my history with the Globo gyms is pretty cool. I mean, I started folding towels and cleaning toilets. I just wanted my foot in the door.
Yep.
And I started with that, and then I was in school, and I was said, hey, I want to be a trainer. I just need to get to know everybody. So I started as a trainer, and then I just worked as hard as I could to get to the top. And I got to work for some of the biggest chains in the industry. I got to work.
Hey, were you on the dodgeball team? Dodgeball team?
No, but we did play dodgeball. I got to work at
that's awesome.
I got to work on a corporate level. I got to work on a national level, an area level. Yeah. So I got to learn a lot about how to run flip
a business.
businesses.
Yeah.
That was my specialty, was flipping the gyms. And I also got to learn a lot about what I didn't want to be. Yeah. And I got to learn a lot about that I don't want to create a gym that has 10,000 members and 2 squat racks because I'm hoping my people don't show up every day. Yeah. All Globo gyms are built around the hope that you don't show up, but they're going to market.
That's depressing.
We want to make you fitter. And I'm like, well, then why don't you have enough? Like, if 60 to 70% of my athletes aren't in the gym every day, I consider that a slow day.
Hey,
we need you in here.
Why do big gyms like that? They have pizza days and all these junk food days. I don't understand that.
Because it makes you feel good and it's easy. So I'm going to charge you $10 a month.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that you're in a year contract. To cancel, you have to come in, you have to fill out a waiver, you got to write us a letter or whatever. And I'm going to target an income that's so small that you don't even really see it. And I'm going to say that's my donation. And I'm going to get as many people involved as I can. So thousands of people, like the average, like 24-hour fitness or whatever, has like 2,100 members paying $15 to $18 a month or whatever. And I'm going to grow a business based on the fact that you don't come. And I'm going to sell you an idea. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to build a gym, a quote unquote gym, where you walk in and you have all the products and salon and all the pizza stuff in the front. And the fitness is tucked way, way in the back that you may or may not get to.
And then they have signs that say, make sure you don't clank the weights. Make sure you don't drop the weights on the ground. Don't make too much noise.
Yeah, like training has to be difficult. It has to be difficult because you're trying to outwork everything else in your life that is easy.
Yes.
Like, we drive cars, our groceries are delivered, we have cell phones, everything else is easy. So if you want to see any gain, you have to outwork the minimum. And that minimum is going to look like some weights clanging. It's going to look like some sweat. It's going to look like you're 100%. It's not going to look like pizza.
Yeah, exactly. And, you talk about your gym now. 2013 was a monumental year for you as your whole world changed for the better. And why don't you explain to the listeners out there what went down?
Yeah, it was wild. I'm in this Globo gym and I'm running classes. So like my annual revenue that I produced was a third of the gym's revenue. There was 26 trainers. So this one guy is doing 1/3 of the revenue out of 26 trainers. Oh, wow. And I got so many classes that like we're using all the equipment. There's so many people involved. The gym can't even function. So people are like trying to hang on to me, but they kept taking everything away from me. And finally I had a client that came up to me and they said, like I had a couple people say I needed to start my own gym or whatever, but I didn't really know how I wanted to do it. And I definitely didn't want anybody writing me a check for giving me the money to start it up and then own part of it because it's my dream. So I had a client come up to me and it was a couple and they just said, hey, we'd like to give you this opportunity and basically just be an angel investor and you can just pay us back with more interest than a bank, which is purely understandable, but we don't want to own any of it. And
now, can you explain to me too, real quick? I don't mean to cut you off. For the listeners and myself, what's an angel investor?
So an investor, like an equity investor, would be somebody that says, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000 to start this gym, but for doing that, I want to own 10%.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting over there like, why do you need to own any of my dream just for giving me money? Because I can go to a bank and get money.
Yep.
So they just said, hey, we'll give you the money. We'll do it on a loan. And so we're going to call it an angel investor. They own none of the company. And I was still kind of shaky. And then the next thing out of their mouth, they said, the only requirement we have is that later in life, you do this for somebody else.
That's
and
great.
I was like, you're amazing human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been there every step of the way. Because I was producing so much revenue, I had to sue my former employer when I started because they tried to shut me down and they funded that. I mean, they have been nothing but amazing. We wound up winning the lawsuit, obviously, so that was great. But I mean, they called me, they said they wanted to do it. I thought about it for like a day or two, mapped it all out. I had a check within like 2 weeks. I'm quitting my job. I'm signing leases and opening a gym. And I mean, like within a couple months, I'm like, holy shnikes, I'm a business owner. Like, that was crazy.
What was the biggest hurdle as far as starting your own business? I'm sure the workout process and everything there was solid, but like as far as marketing the business, now you're doing Facebook Live and you're doing a lot of videos. What was the toughest thing to overcome?
So the market is really saturated. There's a ton of gyms in the area. Anybody who does boutique gyms or whatever, it's very saturated in Woodstock. And people also wanted to make sure that I was going to survive. Like, oh, Mitchell left the Globo Gym. Is he really going to stay in business type deal? So I had to convince people. So I opened the gym. So I had 3 months of no rent to get started, which is pretty normal if you're starting a business.
Right.
And then I had 3 months on my loan. So they gave me 3 months with no rent payment, 3 months with no loan payment. And I had 3 months to get there. And on grand opening day, I was supposed to have 60 people join, which would have covered everything and I would have been fine. And hey, things happen. I had 24 join. So at the end of the day, I didn't have enough money to pay my rent. I didn't have enough money to pay this debt that was coming up. I didn't have nothing. And when I went back and I looked at everything and I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to grow this business? Whatever. I took a deep breath and I just said, I'm going to train these people better than they've ever been trained in their whole life.
Damn right.
Get them everything they've ever wanted.
Yeah.
And they're going to be my growth. And I put everything into my members just like I do every day. And they are 100% responsible for the growth of this business. And
is that where the relentless pursuit of excellence makes people better come from?
Yeah, it comes from that. It's what we do every day here. We do Facebook Live and stuff like that, but I've never spent $1 on marketing. I do a Groupon and stuff like that, but I don't like have a billboard or anything.
Right.
And every dollar you spend on marketing is $1 that you don't spend on excellence. And if we can devote all of our time and energy and resources in devoting excellence and put it into our members where they know that every day is about them and we're indebted to them, they become our biggest gurus to go spread to all their friends how awesome this place is.
I think that's a key factor in any business that you're running. And even with my voiceover business where, if I get a client, I'm going to try to go above and beyond and convince them, hey, I'm the best one around. You're going to want to use me every time you need a voiceover. So that goes with any small business. So listeners out there, pay attention. The subscriber count on your YouTube page has been steadily on the rise, and we talked about the videos. How important is it to have video content in today's business atmosphere, and what are the big hurdles when it comes to educating and marketing through these ideas?
I think it's extremely important. Our YouTube channel is fairly new as far as the work that we're putting into it, but it's always been on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. But you saying that I have the best product, I have the best service, I home make all my materials, like however you're going to market it, only gets you so far.
Right.
And when somebody has more buying power than you and somebody's larger than you, they need to understand your mission. And people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And you need to be creating a core value that says this is our mission. This is what we're going to do to change the world. I'm not interested in changing Woodstock. Right. I'm interested in changing the world and the training industry and the human culture of the minimum physical requirement of life. And that's our brand. Our brand is our mission. And the more people that we can push out there, like Facebook, a free platform for thousands of people to hear my voice. Are you joking? Like there's not a better investment. And if you're not producing massive amounts of content, you will lose. You are losing right now, and you will lose if you're not putting massive content out there, because that's all the industry is now. You got a couple seconds on social media. It's go, 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 and massive content.
Right.
And people need to see your face.
And what some people don't realize when they're starting something new and fresh, it's a lot of time. There's a lot of time consumed if you want to do it the right way. And that's why it's always great to stay focused, stay positive, have a plan of attack. And a lot of people that come into Strongside, they don't really necessarily have a plan of attack. They know what they want to improve. They want to be better than what they were before coming in. But they don't really know how to go about it. But you give them a lot of tools. I mean, people can go for therapy sessions. They can go to the different trainers. And we talked about sponsors earlier. You guys are like their sponsors. I mean, do you have people call you when they don't feel like going to the gym? Let the listeners know.
So the physical outcome, the before and after picture, is like the tip of the iceberg. It's the thing that you see that not many people get to see or do that is showcased after months and years of some of the hardest work that you will ever do in your life. And my preach to every new member that starts here is that my job is to put you in a position to succeed. Myself and all my coaches will put you in a position to succeed. We are not here to make you fail. However, it's going to be some of the hardest stuff that you've ever done in your life because our needs only vary in degree, not kind. So you might look like a different level than somebody else as far as intensity or load, but the expectation is 100%. 99% is not accepted, 100%. And that's going to equate to, lots of phone calls, crying sessions, tons of hugs, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is not uncommon to be cried on every single day. It is hard. The world is working against you. The world doesn't want you to be fit. The world doesn't want you to live the life you want to live.
Right.
The world doesn't want you to see success. And you're battling every bit of that just to freaking get in the gym. And then when you get to the gym, we're going to ask more of you. Totally get it. But we're going to create atmospheres and platforms. And we're going to create platforms for competitors, platforms for weight loss, platforms for general population and older population, and verticals for you to succeed.
Now, is the motto no pain, no gain? Is that one going extinct?
I hope so. And I think the idea of it is going away. But a lot of times people focus on just intensity. They want to work really, really, really hard until there's some type of injury or exhaustion or whatever, because they think that gets them to their goal. If I work harder, I'll reach my goal. There's millions of people working really hard that don't get anywhere. There's millions of people walking on the treadmill and trying to watch their calories, but they don't lose a single pound.
They're reading a book while they're doing it.
Yeah, and it's about the quality of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And can you space out your quality to look at things like timed intervals or load, or how long did you move this load? How is the minimum physical requirement of your body, meaning can you squat? Can you do a sit-up? Can you do a push-up? Because if you can't do those three things, we got to go to work. That's your foundation. And I don't care how old you are squatting to a toilet and standing back up. And if you're not doing anything to raise that minimum physical requirement, it's going to be a difficult scenario when you can't tie your shoes when you're 7.
Well, look at this way, too. I was with a former employee where I used to work, and he would be like, yeah, you know, when you get in your 40s, it gets harder to wipe your rear end because you got to twist back there and everything. I said, well, you need to stretch, don't you? I mean, that should be the first sign that says, hey, I need to stretch.
So I've created this model, and I'm working on really defining the model a little bit more, but I've created a model called the Preservation of Functional Capacity Model, and we can measure that. And we can measure people, for example, this is real science, that after 40 years old, you lose 2% muscle mass and about 2.5 to 3% bone mass per year until you die. That's also under the assumption that you don't do anything about it.
Right.
So you have people that say, I'm older, so it's harder. Well, is it? Or is it that you haven't ever done anything, worked out, stretched, or ate right for 30 years, and then it showed up? And then we take that and we overlay that with somebody who does stretching, mobility work, lifting, running, cardiovascular, respiratory endurance, like all these things. And their slowdown rate of how much muscle mass and bone density they're losing is slower than anybody else. So we're all going to slow down as we get older. I get it. But I'm asking you to slow down slower than those around you.
And plus, there's no pain and no gain involved. And you got to help them do it the right way and the smart way, as opposed to getting them injured and then they never show up ever again.
Absolutely.
To the gym. So what makes your coaches stand out from the rest?
You know, I'm sure any business owner would say this, but we have the best coaches. And I mean that because they care. Like, they are working when they're not working. And they are so invested in our members. They know their first name, their last name. The big thing here is you're greeted by name when you walk in, and we say bye to you by name when you leave. If they don't know somebody, they're introducing themselves immediately. If they're in class, but they're not coaching the class, they're working with that member to improve their movement. They're reaching out to them outside of class. Like we're about to do this competition, and one of our coaches, Alan, reaching out to people that he thinks would be good partners for each other in the competition stuff. They care so deeply for every member. They go out of their way to show it. And you can't teach that love, that ownership behind that. And I'm so grateful and thankful, and I wish I could give them more, and I want to give them more.
Well, you're giving them more than a slice of pizza, and that's probably the best thing you can do when people are trying to improve their overall health. How do you stay focused on a day-to-day basis to achieve your goals? Because I know there's a lot of hurdles that get thrown your way sometimes. And what do you do to stay mentally focused and prepared?
I'm relentlessly devoted to my mission. I'm not an old guy, but as I get older, and I've done this for a while now, I'm starting to really figure out what my mission is. And I really want to impact the training industry and get it to where it's a very good industry to be in and not an incredible industry. And I want to impact people in raising the minimum physical requirement. Like, we view exercise as going up and down stairs. That is not exercise. That is a thing you have to do to be a human being. Like, walking across the parking lot is not fitness.
No.
Like, a hill should not be something that you're worried about. And that
grabbing the remote from the table or the floor is not an exercise.
No. And I want every single day. I have a wonderful opportunity in my job to make this hour of their training the best hour of their day. And that is a duty and a responsibility. And I view everybody being fit. That is your duty and your responsibility as a human being to be fit. And it is my duty and responsibility to improve the quality of your life. The vision and mission will never decrease in its intensity because I literally need to impact every single person to say, hey, I'm going to improve the quality of your life. I'm not going to do it. What I'm going to do is empower you with tools and show you things that you didn't think you could do. And I want to make you better because of it. And it like ignites me. I can't even describe how much fire, and I can't even sleep. Like it's awesome. When people think they're joining a gym, I'm like, dude, you're not joining a gym. You're joining a way of life. And I am so dedicated to you that I will do anything in my power to help you.
Well, damn, bro. I wish I lived in Georgia right now. Come see you. Next time I come into Georgia, I'm going to have to come swing by and check out the gym.
Absolutely.
This leads us to our When It Rains, It Pours question of the show. This segment is brought to you by Voices of the Storm Recording. Let me do the talking. Okay, talking smack with Mitchel Black. Set the atmosphere, man. I know you did this in college. You had a show. What was the introduction like? Why don't you roll with it?
So I can't remember what the introduction was, but it was something. I mean, they made it up at the radio station, but it was like, Talking Smack with Mitchel Black. It was a show all on health and fitness, and it was a radio show. And I've always been really big on the idea that, like, I don't go around, like, looking for opportunity. I just take anything, and I can make that the opportunity that I want it to be. Yep. And my cousin managed a radio station, and he was like, oh, you're in school, to be a personal trainer or whatever. And he was like, would you like to do this? He goes, I can't pay you anything. But I was like, fine, just spread the good word and go.
Yeah.
So it was in Jefferson, Georgia, and I went down there 2 days a week and did an hour-long show, and people could call in. It was national online. We talked about health, fitness. We had a school psychologist on and talked about like eating disorders and the obesity rating in schools and stuff and how to get the nation more fit. And it was a really neat experience, like interacting with the people on the fly and getting people to call into your show and having guests on. And that was wild.
What was the craziest call you ever received?
I don't know if we had like super crazy, but we had a lot of like very non-answering questions. Like it would be, people would call in for the idea of like, hey, I was thinking about doing this protein shake. But, people are emotional, right? Especially with weight loss. And it would go on to just some, like, they're not happy with their marriage. And I'm like, whoa, like, hang on.
Well, I had 6 egg yolks today like Rocky, but I'm about to get divorced. I'm about drinking 6-pack a day. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that's too much.
Hey, Mitchel, it's been great having you on the show, man. Do you have any shout-outs you want to make before I let you go?
The first thing that comes to mind is I definitely want to give a shout out to my wife, Kim. I'm newly married. And
congratulations.
Thank you very much. That woman, I work 16 hours a day, like 7 days a week, 8 days a week is my joke. And that woman, like, she supports me to no end and wants nothing but the greatest for myself and our members and our family. And I can't even say how much I love her and how much I appreciate her and everything. She is the driving force for everything that I want to do every day, and I can't thank her enough.
What an inspirational interview with Mitchel Black. And if you want to follow him on social media, go to Google Plus at Mitchel Black, on Facebook at Strongside Woodstock, YouTube at Strongside, Instagram at Strongside13. Here is your mission, soldier. Are you starting your own business? Is there something out there that you want more than anything else? Well, your mission is your mission statement. What is that one thing that drives you to excellence and allows you to have an impact on the world? For Mitchel, it's helping people improve their overall quality of life through fitness. If there's a passion that burns deep within you, soldier, follow it no matter what obstacles are thrown in your way. This is your mission if you accept. Are you ready, soldier? Haha, yeah, you guys can follow me on social media at Brad Storm Lanou on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And check out my business, Voices of the Storm Recording, on Facebook. Let me do the talking. You can like the page and check out the many videos I have on the page. I want to thank everyone for tuning in once again, and remember to clench the fist and punch every day in the face. And I'll see you the next time we enter the storm.